Welcome to the Why Not Today podcast, where we celebrate courage, determination, and the power of saying, why not today? I'm your host, Leslie Kane, and in each episode, we dive into inspiring stories of individuals who have taken bold steps, faced their fears, and embraced the possibility of today. From entrepreneurs to artists, dreamers to doers, we explore the moments when they said, enough waiting, why not today? Join me as we uncover the heartwarming, the audacious, and the transformative, whether it's pursuing a lifelong passion, overcoming obstacles, or simply choosing joy. Our guests share their journeys and inspire us all. I started this podcast in honor of my father, Patrick Kane, who often did say, why not today? And I always say, remember, you're just one decision away from changing your life. And our guest today is Lisa Rigoni, and she is CEO and Chief Declutter Officer, I think is your title, of a organizing company, Organizing Mentors, is that correct?
The Organizing Mentors, yep.
Organizing Mentors. She wrote a book, which makes no sense until you read it, called 17 Spatulas and the Man Who Fried an Egg. And so we met years ago and crisscrossed in the networking world for years here and there. And then recently, with the podcast and my luncheon, a couple of people said, you need to read Lisa. I'm like, well, I know Lisa. So
yeah, right.
reached out, and it's great to reconnect with you. And I'm excited to have you as a guest on our podcast. And then also, depending on when you're listening to this, and if you're local, June 27th is our next Why Not Today Connect lunch. And Lisa is our guest. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, Lisa, a little about you and a fun fact, and then we'll get into the book and your courage. And there's lots of things in the book that I loved.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here, Leslie. Thanks so much. I'm so glad we reconnected, especially since the changes in our business and the connections and all that. So I started my business, Leave It to Lisa, in 2008 as a professional organizer, and just started helping people with things that they couldn't do themselves, sorting through their homes, the belongings they didn't know they wanted or they hadn't seen in years. And it has evolved into just me, and now I have 9 organizers.
Oh, wow.
And I rebranded in 2015 to the Organizing Mentors, because I realized we were doing a lot more than just organizing. We were mentoring people who didn't believe that they could be organized. You know, I really believe everyone's organized. It might be organized chaos, right? And it might not work. Yeah, I mean, it might not work for you. So that's why they reach out to us. But everyone's organized. I mean, if you can live and breathe in this world, you have to be organized in some way. Right. But most of the people who call us are either way under organized in their mental state. And so you could see it in the physical state, and, or just the opposite. So, so we are
your business stuff. Let's talk about who Lisa is.
Pardon?
Let's talk a little about who you are. Where you
who
from?
I am. Oh gosh. How long do we have? I am from Chicago. Yeah, I am from Chicago. And like in my book, I'm a Polish in the suburbs of Chicago. I have 3 brothers, and we grew up in a really close-knit family. We were all dancers. We were all in sports. We were all outgoing, just all over the place kids. And 2 of my brothers danced on Broadway. I was the Count in Sesame Street. That's a little known fact. And slowly got out of theater and started a fitness company in Chicago. I had worked with a lot of seniors, and had a big business. I had about 4 or 5 employees, W-2s there. And then my husband got a job at AOL. So we moved here. I had a 6-month-old. Wow. And now we've been here, well, she'll be 21 next month. So we've been here almost 21 years.
She's Northern Virginia.
Pardon? Oh yeah, Northern Virginia. Yeah, we moved to Northern
Virginia. Listening all over the world. So
all over. Yep. So then we moved here and in Northern Virginia, and I was doing a little personal training, a little teaching, aerobics and personal training, and just wasn't doing it for me. So like you'll hear in the book, or you'll read in the book, that I started doing my friends' garages and kitchens and basements and attics at play dates. And one of my friends said, you should do this as a business. And I was really good at it. I'm really good at helping people decide what they want and don't want. And thus, how many years now, 16, 17 years later, I have a bigger business than I've ever imagined. And I wrote a book.
And
So,
we're going to talk about that a little bit more, the kind of what I found, the Why Not Today formula, which you agree with so much in so many ways. So your account in Sesame Street.
Yep.
That's pretty fun. Is your family still perform on Broadway? And
No, they all got out of it. My oldest brother, he still writes and he sometimes performs here and there off Broadway, but his husband is a producer on Broadway. So we're still kind of, associated with some of that. Cool. Yeah.
Yay. So what, Lisa, is your definition of courage?
Yeah, my definition of courage, I don't know if it's a definition or a feeling, is I call it, I've done this with my daughter. Just breathe, take 3 seconds and just do it. No matter what it takes, no matter what you're feeling, whether that's jumping in a pool, writing a book, just saying hi to somebody. So it's more of a letting go for me that I think courage is.
Yeah. Got to let go of that fear and jump.
Yep. Because it's always going to be there. So you might as well.
It is. It's interesting, just all the people I've had on the podcast and talked to about this subject. Just, yeah, it's just doing the thing. And courage is not without fear. There's tons of fear.
Yep. It's not in the absence of it, for sure.
Exactly. So, yeah, so you kind of prefaced a lot of things you've done. So a question for you. Were your parents entrepreneurs?
Nope. Not at all. Not at all. My mom and dad were very artistic. My mom used to write, she was good. We used to do, church plays and stuff. And she was always changing the words to songs and creating plays around it and stories and all that. And my dad was very good with his hands. He was he worked with tools and wood and, was always like creating things like that. No, nothing. They put my oldest brother into ballet class just so he would meet other kids in Chicago. And then he loved it so much that when my next brother was born, she just threw him in the classes. And then I was born and Vic was, the little one, was born. So we all just kind of got into it. Yeah, we used to do a family act when we were young. We'd go around to churches and senior communities and things like that.
Like you're circling around that senior world a lot. Well, I've asked the entrepreneurs
very much,
because I found that people that own their own businesses or start business often were their parents modeled it, which my dad asked. And I saw that the lifestyle he had and flexibility, which my mom, for the most part, most of my childhood work was raising 6 kids. So not working outside the home. And my dad always had a business as long as I knew. But, he was there for soccer games and after school and in the middle of the day, he'd come home for lunch. But after we'd have dinner, he'd always be home for dinner, but then he would go back to his office and get some work done. Kind of watch that. I'm like, oh, isn't that what everybody does?
Yeah, right.
So it sounds like you've started several businesses. And I found in talking to people about courage and their stories that people have, I call it the Why Not Today formula, where basically you've had enough and you have that moment, that pivotal moment that you're like, I should do something different. Or your friend says, why don't you make this into a business? Like people notice your natural genius, which for you probably in organizing stuff, you're like, oh, this is just easy.
Exactly.
And you've done it. And it's like those things somebody said recently, when you said, oh, those are the things you need to get paid for and figure out how to make it. Because, or when you do something, people are like, how did you do that? I'm like, what do you mean? How did I do it? That's easy.
Yeah. Not for everybody.
No, it's not. And so finding out what that natural genius is and being able to help people with what you love. And so, all right, so you started the organizing business. Leave it to Lisa. Tell me, or I know you talked about in the book, but what does the acronym stand for? Or what is it?
Oh, Leave It to Lisa. Yes, LITL. So little. When I saw that, I love acronyms, and I say this all the time in talks. I have ADD. So I remember when I found out when I was 40 that I had ADD, I would remember things with acronyms, and I would just make something funny up to remember a word or remember a story or subject or the war, or, whatever we had to remember in a test. And so when I realized that Leave It to Lisa was little, I said, I have to use that somewhere, because we help our clients a little. They get rid of a little clutter. They release a little stress. They feel a little better. And so when I was thinking about what we do what we do in our business, and I would be teaching, and I started hiring people, I thought, what do we do? And I went to the acronym, and so I created the LITL system, the LIT system. And the first step is let it go, the L. And it is actually the first two steps, which are really only two steps in the LITL system. The last two are the outcome of making the first two steps. So we use this to make any decision in our life. And I've tested it. Actually, I have it in a book, and I've tested it with people in presentations that I do all the time. So the first L is let it go. What are the things you know you don't want? So when you're looking in your closet, everyone says, oh, I want everything. I want everything in my kitchen. Well, okay, well, let's just look. Let's open one bin. Let's open one box. What are the things you know you don't want? Oh, well, I haven't worn that red sweater, or that's ripped, or that doesn't fit me anymore. We know what we don't want. We usually don't know what we want until we can see things are clearer of what we do want. So you go to a restaurant, right? You go to, I don't know, Taco Bell, let's just say that. So I don't really want chicken today, not really steak. So maybe I'll have a veggie burrito, right? We get rid of the things we know we don't want. Go out for a drink. I'm not in the mood for wine. I don't really like beer. Oh, I think I'll have vodka. Okay, well, what are you going to have with your vodka, right? We eliminate the things we don't want. That with my clients gives them courage and confidence, to say, oh, okay, I know what I don't want. I may not know what I'm thinking about this space, or what I want left, but I know what doesn't feel right. This is why I called you, right? Let's get rid of that stuff and donate it, or, give it to family. And then the I is intentional. That is the stuff that takes a little more time. That's the stuff. Well, if I do eat that veggie burrito, that's a lot of cheese. Am I going to have a stomach ache? Whatever. Or, well, that's grandma's sweater. Oh, she knitted that for me. It doesn't fit me anymore. It's kind of full of mothballs, but oh gosh, I feel so guilty if I get rid of it. Or the china, or, oh, that dress that I wore at that wedding, I didn't even wear it. It still has the price tags on it. It's the stuff that you kind of have to put more thought in. So it's more intentional. And what I found, though, making those two steps, you create a space physically and mentally of what you do want. And if you set an intention, they usually come back to you, right? So the next L is, or the next step is transform. So you've transformed your space, you've transformed your life, you've transformed your confidence, because most people, like I said, they don't know what they don't want. They don't know what they do want, but you did. You can kind of give yourself a pat on the back and say, oh, I did know, so you feel a little bit better. And then the L is love it and live it, the last L. You've made those decisions. Your closet has the things that you want in it, and you can see things clearer and all that. So that's the LITL system. And we use that for every job, every client. Every job is unique, and every client and project are unique, but that's where we start.
Well, and I love that it's not just for organizing, it's life. So thinking about what I'm finding with my courage stories and the courage formula, and really I'm honing in and helping, it's kind of be the world I'm working around, is helping people have the courage to do what they want to do, make it into a business, and love their life, and live doing their path of genius. And so, decide what you don't want. And so we can easily say, oh, I don't want to do that, and I don't want to do this, and I don't want to do this, and be able to say that, and then work with intentions to say, okay, what do I want to do? And to take that why not today step every day to do the little steps. Like you didn't start a business. I didn't start a business and have it like where you started and where you are completely different places.
Exactly.
And we're not going to know the end until we at least just start. Take those why not today little steps, and having the courage just to do the little and throwing it out there and like, when you're intentional
And
you're
keep going.
and I've often talked about this, that you start aligning with people and you get those connections with people.
Most definitely.
We've had some crazy connections, and I'm calling them God winks, but they're the why not today coincidences. And somebody said one time, when you're living your life in alignment with your values and enjoy, then those things are going to come to you.
They do.
And
totally agree.
I had a mentor say one time, things don't fall into your lap unless your lap is out there.
Right.
You know, and so being available and open and being observing what's out there. And
yeah,
and
if you're also cluttered with stuff you don't want, that's just not just noise. How can you see that, and how can you hear it and open up your space? You can't.
I love the word space. And 2 years ago or last year, that was my word of the year. I don't know if it was the year. So that was my word. And it was a couple different reasons. One is I wanted to get rid of some clutter in my space, in my house, and get rid of some stuff and redo some things. And it's funny, I had a pink wall in my dining room for all my Mary Kay appointments. Well, because of COVID, I'm not doing them in person. And pink is really not my favorite color. My niece asked me one time, like, why is pink your favorite color? I'm like, it pays me really well. You know? And so I decided to repaint the wall. And I was telling a friend, I'm like, you know, now I'm at night, I often work in my dining room, and the wall was pretty, and I'm like, okay, it's motivating me to put everything away at night. She's like, well, why aren't you working in your office? I'm like, one, it's cold in the winter time, the window. But two, behind me, I've redone the whole thing behind me. But before, it was just a collect all shelf.
Oh, there you go.
And so once I did that, it just opened up space to make me feel better. And my other part of space was just being present with people.
Right. Oh, that's nice. Yep.
Because you have to, you know, have that space. I have a friend that had a decorating business, and she would come and tell you, take what you have and redecorate, and move stuff around, and so evaluate and everything. One of these days she can be on here. But I remember one time she came over. I'm like, okay, if you had 10 minutes, what would you do differently? Don't ask that of a decorator. And she's like, okay, I'm coming back tomorrow. But in the meantime, I want you to pull all the couches, everything out, and clean all the dust bunnies. Said all that is holding your energy.
Yes.
And when you can get rid of the clutter, it opens up your energy and makes you feel more powerful.
It sure does. Even just a little, a little. I always say, just open one drawer, open one bin, go in your sink, go in a junk drawer, and it just, even 5 minutes, it makes you feel so much better.
So much better. Well, reading your book, and I mentioned on social media that, and I said to you, I started reading it before I went to bed at night one night, and then I couldn't sleep. So mentally, I've organized a lot of things. I just haven't had the time to do all the things and clear out all the stuff. But even though it seems I can continually do it, but we just
always.
Oh, it just keeps coming in, and my mom's cleaning stuff out, and I get it. And then, you know, I feel bad, you know, the guilt of the family stuff, and I'm like, I really want this, and I don't need it. So many cool things you talked about in your book. So let's talk about the title first. How 17 Spatulas, the man who fried an egg. Now, I know what it means now in reading it.
Yeah.
So with your 17 spatulas, I have a question for you. Does that include rubber spatulas and regular spatulas and every kind of spatula?
Every kind of spatula.
Ooh, I might be guilty. I told my mother finally, I said, you cannot give me another rubber spatula in my stocking at Christmas, which I'm 60 years old, and I still get a stocking. But so I think I got to get rid of some spatulas. All right.
Oh, well. Well, as long as if they serve a purpose, though, Leslie, as long as they serve a purpose.
Well, some I never touched, so I need to get.
Well, there you go.
And I'm in a condo that my grandmother lived in, and she passed away 15 years ago, and I've been in here. But when she moved, or when she passed away, I moved in, and all her stuff was here. So for a long time, I kept stuff just
stayed.
But I finally found something way back in the refrigerator. I'm like, all right, this is really gross. Oh, it was back here.
Oh, Lord. Yeah.
All right. So tell us what 17 spatulas and the man who fried an egg.
So I thought of that title many years before I even thought about writing a book. And the way I used to introduce what we do as a business, I would say, I'm Lisa with the Organizing Mentors. We can help you, declutter anything from your 17 spatulas in your kitchen to a whole house move and pack up and purge and reorganize and unpack and blah, blah, blah. And then one day I met a woman who had 17 spatulas. And you'll read about Alice in the book and how what she taught me was to keep the things that serve a purpose, that mean something to you, no matter what they look like to other people, as long as they serve a purpose and they mean something to you. And so that always kind of rang in my head, because she was a big influence in what I do and how I mentor my clients now. And then the name, The Man Who Fried an Egg, how that coincided was, this is a gentleman who I worked with for 8 months.
Wow.
And he was a hoarder, and he reached out to me after a year of doing research and working with this therapist, and we worked together and became, like brother and sister. It was very hard at the beginning. I mean, I walked in going, what have I gotten myself into? It was overwhelming for me to be in there with him. But then I put my everything aside and said, he's reached out to me. I can't imagine how overwhelmed he is, right? And how can I help him? So we worked together at least 3-4 hours a week, if not more, for 8 months. And he changed his whole life and really found a lot of gunk he was pushed down. And we surround ourselves with stuff, weight, physically and mentally. We push people away. We surround ourselves with stuff to protect us. And I work with a lot of therapists also, and it's a way of protection. And we hold on to stuff because it serves us in some way.
Right.
Sometimes it's positive and sometimes it's negative. And most of the times, going through your stuff brings up a lot of emotions and fears and reasons why you're holding on to it. And until you talk about it and look at it, you don't know. So he didn't go up in the bedroom because there was a lot of trauma up there. He basically couldn't go in the kitchen, lived on, frozen dinners and takeout and, boxed food, slept on 3 yoga mats in the basement, surrounded by boxes and his computer whizzing and, all that. And after 8 months, he called me and he said, Lisa, I just want you to know I fried an egg in my kitchen for the first time in 8 years.
Wow.
So now, with the book, we can help with 17 spatulas, or you can basically fry an egg in your kitchen for the first time, because you can change your whole life. It doesn't have to be that drastic. It could just be, not that 17 spatulas is not difficult to go through. It's not a life-changing thing.
Right.
So the book is about why we hold on to stuff physically and mentally, and all the stories I've learned and my life. There's a lot of my history and my story and how I've come to be, and all this stuff that even writing the book, I didn't realize I was holding on to until I was working with my developmental editor. And she said, well, do you think that's because of that? And that happened because of that? And I was like, oh, I don't know, but yes, now it makes sense, So
I
you
love
don't
the
know
book.
what you're holding on to.
Yeah, and I
Thank
love the
you.
short stories.
Yes.
The short chapters and the stories.
Yep.
I feel like I know you, like I mean, I've known you, but like I've been
Right.
best friends.
Oh,
with
no, I have friends and even family members that are like, I really didn't. I mean, I knew this event in your life, but I didn't know this was what you're feeling
Right.
through it,
Yeah.
and friends that are like, I found, a new, and that was really hard. Like, talk about why not today? Like, oh my
Putting it out.
gosh, well, today, now, if I do this, people are going to know about me. But it was that 10 seconds and like 3 seconds of courage, right? Like, just do it, because it's helping so many more people. I have ADD. I found that when I was 40, I had ADD. So people that have known me, they're like, how can you be an organizer and run 3 businesses and do this when you have ADD? Like, that doesn't make
That's how
sense. You
you can
don't
do it.
seem like it. But, ADD is an umbrella.
I think, and I think
yeah.
we all have some form of it if we own our own business, because we all.
I think so, yeah.
We're in all
Yeah.
kinds of, I haven't been diagnosed, but I'm sure there's something down there.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think in writing the book and telling our stories, and I found people listen to the podcast, what it's done is given people permission and hope,
Yes.
and to say me
To
too.
just be you and
And be
it's
authentic.
okay.
Yeah, and I think we're all hiding behind so much. I've just been reading a book which I highly recommend, another book, and I just listened to a podcast about it. It's called The Illusion of Money.
Mm.
And this guy had you go through an exercise in the book and write down, he had a whole bunch of things, and you had to rate how you felt in your body from a 1 to 10. And then go through and write down everything you do in your life, listen to people you're around, all the things, and value them 1 to 10, and then see what your score is and the average. And if anything's below that average, really evaluate.
Oh,
You know,
interesting.
it's those people that we spend time with because we've known them for years, but they're really toxic. And why do we?
Yeah.
They don't make you feel good. I have another friend that was practicing Reiki,
hmm
and I asked her what it was, and she's like, "Well, she was explaining. She was like, do you feel other people when you're around them, the energy?" And I'm like, I don't know, never thought about it. After she said that, I'm like, oh my goodness, so much so. And
Yeah.
you know, you
Yeah.
can walk, and I'm sure you, especially with what you do, but I can walk into people's houses too and feel the energy. And you
hmm
can feel who those people are going to be, your
Yeah.
connection, who they're not, who's not supposed to be in your circle.
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly. Exactly. And who do I want to share me with?
Yeah. I mean, I think
Mhm.
one thing COVID taught me is like, okay, where am I spending my time, and is it valuable? You
Oh,
know,
exactly.
and
Well,
is it
again,
worth
we
it?
hold on to stuff because it serves us in some way, and
Well,
sometimes
and I found
it's
too,
not
like
positive.
I love to network and meet new people, but I'm
Mhm.
not the good being a huge crowd of people. I'm much more effective one-on-one. So
Mhm.
I was there was something came up, and I was committed to going, and I'm like, an opportunity to go to the beach, and I wouldn't be back in time, or driving home on a Sunday. I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't give me the joy to be around
Mm.
couple hundred people. I'd rather be at the beach,
Right.
so being able to
Exactly.
look at our life and decide
Yeah.
where we want to spend our time.
I think that also comes with age. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
58
absolutely.
too. It's like, I'm not, no, not
Yeah.
doing it. Just
I
not,
saw something
not
on social
anymore.
media the other day. It said, I'm happy in my pajamas, reading a book, watching TV, eating popcorn, and
hmm
not going out on Friday night.
Oh, exactly. I'm always so happy. I'm like, oh, my husband goes to poker. My daughter's been at school. I'm like, oh, I get Friday by myself. It's so
What do
nice.
they call that? JOMO? Have you heard of that?
No.
Joy of missing out.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
The
All right.
joy
So
of
your
missing
book has lots of great tidbits.
out. Okay.
One of my favorites that I've shared with people over and over is when you and your siblings went through your parents' house. They were
Yes.
alive, and went
Yep.
through and talked about things you wanted, and having your mom leave notes with things, which I thought was so
hmm
cool. So that is
I
something
tell that to my clients all the time.
sure
Please do
doing to
that.
my mom. The other
hmm
thing is pictures, like you said, which we all have all these old pictures, and we have
Yeah.
17 versions of the same crappy picture, first of all.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
if one of the things you said, which stuck with me, is if you're looking through family pictures and you're like the oldest generation, like my my grandparents' stuff, but I don't know who those people are,
Yeah.
throw the picture away, because nobody else is going to know who they are if nobody
Right.
wrote a note on it.
Right. Yep.
So what is your favorite message or chapter, or you
Oh
have a favorite
gosh.
in the book?
I don't.
You
I
don't.
don't. I
Okay.
think that the overall theme and the overall goal of what I wanted was for people to recognize themselves or something that that they're triggered by or holding on to, and to not feel alone. And that's the most, like you said, oh, she wrote a book about it. So, and all these people feel the same thing or they've done the same thing. Okay. Like you said, give yourself permission to just accept it and then
Mhm.
deal with it. Right now, the reason why you're holding on to something. Now you have the choice. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I like so many of, I love the book. I'm sorry. I was reading it once and I was like, this, just in my head, I was like, this is a good book. I forgot it was mine. I
Did
know
you
that
always
sounds
want to be
like,
a writer?
oh God, no, no, I never believed I was smart enough. I grew up with ADD. I mean, I
Yeah.
was always the dumb, stupid. I mean, there's a story about me with the book my psychiatrist gave me. You mean I'm not lazy, stupid, or crazy? Started
Yeah.
crying right there because those were words I used to describe myself like every single day. I'm so stupid. Why can't I remember this? Why am I getting a C? Why am I failing this class? Why I'm so lazy. I don't feel like doing it. Well, the motivation wasn't there unless I was really, you never know what the reasons are, but
Yeah.
I mean, that alone has helped so many people, like, oh my God, those are the reasons, those are the words I still say,
Right.
well, you have to realize that's you, I call it my superpower now. ADD is my superpower.
Well, isn't that ironic?
It's one of those things that I always thought I didn't know what it was, but I thought it was different.
Yeah. And those things, the weaknesses turn into strength.
Oh, yeah.
And
Once you acknowledge them.
yeah, and being able to find out what those superpowers are to be able to help other people and not and be brave enough and courageous enough to take the step.
Yeah.
And take the first step, because you never know where it's going to take you. So I always say when people have that why not today story or courage path, was there a moment when you started your business or wrote the book or something, some moment you remember exactly where you were when you had that pivot, like, I'm going to do this?
Well, it was COVID. And I reached out to a writer friend of mine who had helped me write some brochures and, had done some things on my website and that. And I reached out to him and I said, hey, can you help me just write the little system? Because I do classes all the time and I talk about it. And so we wrote the little system. We wrote examples and, stories, and we put it all together. And like I said in the book, then I met somebody who said, or a friend of mine said, oh, my friend just started this book writing club. I was like, oh, great. I already have this book. Maybe she can help me publish it. I don't know. I don't know the first thing about, making it a real book. And they decided, basically, after the stories I told about my clients and this and that, they're like, that's your book. The system is always going to be there, but you have to write. I'm writing the why of how to organize. Like, this isn't a how to organize book. And people always say, oh, am I going to learn how to organize? I'm like, no, because everybody has a how to organize a book on their shelf, and it just sits there because you can't read how to organize. You have to, it's an emotional thing, and you have to decide. And I was just talking to a potential client who hired me today, and she said, well, I'm 85 years old. I can't go upstairs. I said, you could sit on your butt, because you're the one that's going to have to decide everything. We're going to hold things up. Do you want it or not? Like, it's a very emotional thing. It's not just moving things and getting it organized and putting it bins and making it look pretty. Like, it's a lot of work. So I didn't want that. I didn't want another how to organize book. I call it shelf help. That's
somebody said too, you have to declutter before you can organize.
Yes. Once you declutter, once you let go of what you don't want, then what's left, and intentional, like, okay, what's left? Now we can organize what's left. If not, you're just reorganizing chaos. You're just moving things into bins and putting them looking pretty. Most people, I organize every week. How come my house is still cluttered? Well, you're not getting rid of anything.
Right.
You're not getting rid of stuff that doesn't serve you and doesn't need to be in your space mentally and physically.
Right. Yeah, now I want to go start doing projects all over my house now, and I've got other work I need to do. Darn it.
Well, I'm moving. As you can see, there's like no artwork on the wall. I have a bed over here. We're moving in like 2 weeks. So I found a bin downstairs that has been there. We've been in this house 12 years. Old bin from grade school, high school, I don't know, 20s and maybe into my 30s, probably just into my 20s. I haven't gone in that bin forever. My daughter and I moved it out of there thinking, oh, I'll just put it in storage and go through it later. No, I like little system. So I sat down there for probably 4 hours, 2 nights in a row, smelled like mothballs, like it was horrible. Going through letters, going through things. I have a whole bin of stuff to donate, whole bin of stuff for trash, saving a couple of my dad's letters, some of my mom's cards, some love letters, some things that I remember, like this. Oh, this is hilarious. This bracelet is my 6th grade boyfriend gave that to me.
Oh my goodness.
I thought I lost it.
Oh,
it's one of those things you just save. I'm like, I'm just going to wear it till it falls off.
Love it.
Because it's such a good feel. Like, I remember him giving it to me, I mean, I'm 58. It's a long time ago.
I found going through stuff not too long ago. All the cards I received for my first communion.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Oh, I saved every single birthday card for my family.
Yeah, I've got so many. Like, all right, I need to go through
You just save it, because my mom, I come to this business honestly, my mom saved everything. And when they passed away, and you hear about this through the book, my brothers and sister-in-law and I going through my parents' house. I mean, that's why that bin is still full, because they never got rid of it.
Well, and one thing somebody taught me a while ago is take a picture of it.
Take a
It
picture.
means something. And
You
then
might never look at it again, but at least it's
have it.
still here. Yeah, it's still
Or make
somewhere.
a photo book about it.
See, I kind of, here's my 5 cents on that.
Okay.
We have so many photo albums, right? You're going to make a photo book. You're going to pass away. Then your child or your family is going to have to throw out that photo book. I mean, if it's something that you really need, I want to make one for my daughter because she was in Milan for the last semester. And I do want to make one for her. And then, she can, but don't do it for everything. People do pictures and then they have stacks and stacks.
Well, I've done it for my mom and my youngest sister who has Down syndrome. We do a lot together. So I do it for my mom for Christmas. And then she has the book of all the pictures and she shows it to her friends. And
right.
But yeah, you don't need to be taken.
Not every single one. Yes, exactly. Put a limit to the pages.
Yes, exactly. So, well, I'm excited to have you as our guest at the luncheon.
Me too.
Kind of just a preview. So we haven't even really talked about exactly what you're going to talk about. You want to give any precursor?
We can talk about the book. I would like to talk about the little system and discuss it because I want people to walk away with something. I want them to have a tool, right? So a lot of people come and they're like, oh, I'm going to get organized. And then they come home and they have all these notes from their class and they don't know where to start. Well, I'm going to give you a challenge, right? Start open one drawer. When your pasta's being cooked, or whatever, open up one drawer in your kitchen. Do you need all those 17 spatulas? Don't throw them out if they're in good shape, because I hate that. But get a box together and just bring it over to Salvation Army or wherever you want to donate stuff. And you can do that. Everybody can do one thing. Have one bag of clothes ready to go to women giving back. And just start. Like, that's the thing. It's those 3 seconds. Okay, I'm just
why not today? Clean out today. Get rid of,
because if not, Leslie, I'm going to be there, and I've done many a post on this on my Facebook page. We're the one who's there. Wife has passed away, kid has passed, somebody's passed away. Nobody's in the house. We have no idea what's important to people, and there's strangers going through your stuff. Or your family members don't know what's important to you. So do it now.
I've done that recently. Yeah,
it's horrible.
So how would you encourage somebody else to be courageous and say, why not today?
Well, let's see. What are you waiting for? If you're not going to do it, someone else is going to do it.
True.
Yeah. And you know what? It's not about making something huge. It's like you said, just take that first step, take that first bite. You don't have to rock the world. You don't have to make a big deal about it. Just do something. I tell this to my daughter all the time. I used to say this in my fitness classes: impress yourself. Do one thing to impress yourself today.
I like that. Yeah, just get started. Another not related, but kind of is. Last winter, a friend of mine and I both had household projects, and kind of like you helping people. It's nice to have somebody there to help. So we both had household projects. We spent all day a Saturday from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. We painted my wall. We got rid of stuff here. We cleaned out closets at her house. So we kept going from house to house.
Nice.
We went to the dump and got rid of stuff, and Salvation Army and dropped off stuff, and then went shopping together and bought some new stuff. Some cute little things to add in, but it was so much fun, so productive having that.
That's so great. That is.
It's like, do you really need this? No. Or why do you have it? Or we cleaned out my friend's closet, this closet that was everything. I'm like, okay, do you use this all the time? Yeah. I'm like, well, why is it way back there?
Right. Because you forget about it sometimes. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then we buy a new one.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many clients that's happened to.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being my guest, and I'm excited.
Of course, Leslie. Yes, June 27th, my husband's birthday.
Yay! And I've been telling everybody to get the book, so I know people are ordering.
Oh, thank you.
So, and thank you everybody for joining the podcast and joining us on this inspiring journey. Remember, every day is an opportunity to take an action, chase your dream, and make a difference. So why not today? So make
Why
sure you
not?
subscribe, share, keep pushing forward. And you can find everything you want to know about the Why Not Today podcast at whynottodaypodcast.com. I will share all Lisa's contact information in the show notes. And until next time, stay motivated and keep saying, why not today? Thanks,
Why
Lisa.
not today? You're welcome. Bye, Leslie.